A good idea how stone was held together. And some other details. And then this curious window. Presumably those 4 holes held some kind of grate. And I would imagine a certain amount of what's above us and the terracing that I'm on right now would have held more buildings, perhaps all the way up to the entrance to the wall. Presumably I can clamber through that hole. We'll find out. Gun slots, a few cannon slots, big cannon slots, and then that interesting outridge of stone that I see on so many big walls here in China and elsewhere. Certainly the stonemasons of the time had a very particular technical reason for doing that. I wonder what it was. So having crawled through that little opening there, I'm now inside the walls, and I'll walk down along this north side until it's no longer interesting, maybe where those people are down there, and then I'll return back up here and do the other side and back into town. This is the last interesting part of the wall, and it's blocked off anyway because it's probably unstable, hasn't been restored. And beyond it to the left, we notice the bell tower, or a bell tower. I think it may be, it's the right-hand tower of the 2 towers of the church on the main square as we're looking at it from its front. We're at the back now. Now, pretending that I've started on the north end of the wall and worked up, I'll go back up and we'll take a look at everything. Met a nice couple from Hong Kong on the way down. Here, a cement-covered block wall. You can see the underlying block. And notice these pick marks in it, right here. Very much similar to what we saw on that horribly mangled frescoes in that church that now the archaeologist painters have to go back and painstakingly restore. These are nicely made ports here. Notice this particular stone that's literally shaped in this triangular form, I think, to slope radically down and yet look out. Those doors look like they'd held back quite a little bit. What air, I don't know they are. The irony of it is, these ports are on the inside of the wall, i.e. the part that's supposedly being protected. So you would have to assume that the town has already been taken and that everybody has retreated back in behind these relatively fragile walls compared to most forts and are trying to defend from inside the wall itself. Here we can see evidence that at one time rooms were built into the face of the cliff inside the wall. There's the exterior part. The interior part of the wall is behind me about 10 feet. This would have been access to the 2nd floor of this building. There I'm against the outer wall. Look at that curious stone there. Why was it different? Or was that the original and everything else has been a retrofit? Here we can see that this was somehow a room, and yet next to us is this very large tower. Now I've just climbed up some steep steps, and to our right is steps down to the regular steps that the tourist is supposed to use, so I don't know where this will lead me. And here we can see this rather large tower sloped inward. Okay, no big surprise. Inside, large room, and there are probably several floors. I'm not going to bother going up these stairs. This looks like The vaulting was of that cement brick, or those bricks, if you will, and then filled in with maybe more bricks, but somehow there's this big gap, yet it still holds. Don't understand all that. There, doorway. This is all inside, remember. So the battle's being waged inside the walls or inside the town side of the walls. So this is a plateau on the slope that is facing the town, and these are slopes that were presumably made steep and slick so that as you tried to get inside the interior wall of the wall itself, this part up here, you were frustrated by that, and the battle waged inside the wall against the force already defeating the town. Bit confusing. All the new stuff, of course, was the tourist walkway. It's interesting to imagine how formidable the army would have been to be climbing up this slope. 18 inside the walls at Kotor. And there, another building sitting on an outcrop all by itself, reflecting the paranoia that makes you defend every outcrop. Back to where I just came in earlier. Now I'll continue up. I do have to say, I am now starting to get burned out. Another plateau, if you will, but this would have had a wall. This would have all been enclosed, probably with floors on that ridge there, or I mean that line there. And there's that corner window that I could see when I was coming up from that little village. So this wall is not fairly called, should not be fairly called a wall, but rather a wall fortress, because it embodies both functions. You can see how some of the fighting capability cascaded down the side of that. Structure with the heavy cement floor built on stone walls was probably a gun emplacement of the same time of the ones high up on the mountain. Okay, this is the fortress. And there's the entrance. You can see how the entrance was protected by a gulf, which probably had a bridge you could pull back like the one in Machu Picchu. Now remember, when you retrenched into this castle or fortress, that means the town's already been taken. They've been fighting through most of the wall and have taken it and are infiltrated the wall and are coming up and are up. Or they breached the wall from the back and are doing the same on the inside of the wall. So this is your last holdout. And we can see that a lot of this is relatively modern, I think. These would have been designed to hold and to fire large cannon through, I would imagine. Impressive entryway. The sphere usually indicating the universe, the lion, the powerful symbol of many nations. This a winged lion. This looks relatively modern, designed to provide a platform for large guns and storage of ammunition and people underneath. But no doubt built off of what was already here from the original fortress, like these buildings. Those little outcroppings probably to hold beams for a floor. Notice the wear on these original rocks. Again, notice the wear on all of these rocks going up the stairs. So this was probably from the original times, maybe. You can see how it's crumbling down. Certainly had spectacular views while you pondered your fate. We can look down on that village we visited earlier. There are the terraced walkways up to the top. So having gotten up to the top, I realized there is no left, south, and north side that you can climb up and climb back down. Below the walls there, you can only go up and down the left side, or the north side, so I'll do that now. There, of course, is the old town. Much prettier on the inside than the outside, but simple. This is probably the crypt stone for a man who probably took care of this little cathedral for a long time. You wonder who the people were this originally served. Here's a slow pan of the city starting from the northeast corner. Notice there's a church in there with a bell tower. There are what look like two churches. Notice there are no mosques apparently. The fun part of this city is just wandering, particularly in the evening. It's prettiest with lights. This is probably how the road looked on the way up at the top. The cowards are after just one.